Colleagues, good morning. We are very pleased to welcome you on this session, The Experience of Great Britain, the Evolution of Enterprise, the Future Lies with Ecology. We apologize for delay. Today we have very interesting program, and you will be able to hear wonderful professional speakers. My name is Natalia Aristova. I am Senior Associate of EY Company, and I'm working with environmental and industrial safety issues. Currently, the topic of environment is very urgent, especially industrial ecology, environmental issues. It's really relevant. You know, this recent situation with the oil spilling in the north area in Murmansk, and currently some legal documents are being developed to tackle these problems, and many large companies are shifting towards complex environmental solutions, and we are preparing concept of extensive manufacturers' responsibility, and we will talk about many different aspects today. Let me introduce our speakers today. We have with us British Ambassador to Russia, Deborah Bronert. Also, we have a Senior Safety, Health and Environment Specialist for AstraZeneca, Evgenia Franskevich, International Distribution Manager for Filter Mist Company, Richard Smith, GR Director, Head of SEC Marketing Global Market Development Manager, Johnson Matthey, Joseph McCartney, and Government Relations Director for Nissan Manufacturing in Russia, Tatiana Gorovaya. And I would like to invite the first speaker for today, Deborah Bronert. Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm very pleased to be part of this marathon of today. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of the INAPROM for providing this opportunity to discuss this really important issue of climate change. You may know that the next climate meeting with COP26 will be held in Glasgow in November next year, and the UK will be chairing it. Last year, Russian government joined the Paris Agreement, and like other participants to this agreement, including UK, we welcome this move. We look forward to extend our cooperation between our countries to solve this global issue of climate change. And the reason why we conduct this online meeting is the challenge. Since we are now challenged by COVID-19 pandemic, and this crisis affected all of us, and therefore governments of all countries currently prioritize the fight against pandemic and protection of their citizens. But now we are shifting towards the next stage of this problem. We need to restore our economy, and we should remember about long-term threats related to climate change. Economic damage from the pandemic is really profound, but we can restore our economies and to create foundations for more sustainable and environmentally friendly growth. And we want to make our we all contribute to climate change, and we all are responsible for preservation of our planet for the future generations. At the governmental level, we work to improve the legal basis and strategic issues, but the people from business circles should also feel their responsibility. And Department of International Relations and British Embassy support this cooperation between Russian and UK businesses in this area of environmental protection. And our recent business mission was devoted to waste treatment, waste management, and we are currently establishing connections in this area. This area is actively developing in Russia. There are also other green priorities that we are working on. We promote responsible and green manufacturing. Manufacturers are the key driving force of the economy, and they improve our quality of life. But we believe that manufacturing processes can be and manufacturers can be environmentally responsible and economically efficient, and the customers they prefer eco-friendly products. Therefore, for business, it's important to show its responsibility, and we think that production can and will be more clean and more sustainable. Therefore, we would like to discuss the experience of incorporating green technologies in the UK plants, both in UK and in Russia. And once again, thank you for your attention, and I invite the next speaker. Thank you, Deborah Bronert. I know that you need to go, but I have a very short question for you. Do you have any current so-called green project, maybe at the embassy, maybe some program for your personnel, or maybe you have some green certified building? Of course, we try to do our best. We have launched Green Embassy program several years ago, and we organize trainings for our employees. We tell them how they can change their everyday behavior in this respect, and how they can contribute to improvement of environment, both indoors at their workplace and at home. Also, we have a program for sorting of waste products, and also we have campaign on reducing the use of disposable plastic in our offices. And of course, we try to imply energy efficient technologies, and like other British embassies globally, we cooperate with companies that promote electric vehicles as a flagship product. And I'm going to have, in 1 month, we will have a new electric vehicle. And of course, COVID-19 delayed a little bit this implementation of this program. Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And now I would like to give the word to Evgenia Franskevich, and she will tell us about the issues of disposable plastic use and related issues in AstraZeneca.
Good morning, dear participants of the marathon. I'm going to continue this topic concerning the usage of disposable plastic in AstraZeneca. And so it's about our company. We have the program on decreasing the garbage, and plastic is one of the aspects of our work, and we try to do our best and improve our results. I'd like to pay your attention to some numbers, to some figures. What is interesting is that more than half of the plastic, which is rubbish for our planet, appeared in the 21st century when we became consumers of plastic. And as you remember that at the end of the last century, of the previous century, we went to the shop with some just bags, but now we have disposable packets a lot. And half of the plastic that we have is what we generated living in the 21st century. The problem is that over 95% of that plastic couldn't be degraded biologically, and it could stay on the planet and it will not disappear if we could do nothing about that. But if we wouldn't change anything in our behavior and in nothing in our behavior and in our habits, then by the 2034 the quality of plastic consuming will increase twicely. And AstraZeneca decided not to stay in a place but move towards decreasing plastic consumption. And in 2019 we developed a program Remove, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle in our company. So firstly, this is the removal of plastic, reducing, reusing and recycling of plastic. So we developed some steps towards the success, and in our marketing campaigns were assigned the responsible people. We did inventory control of the plastic used, and we determined the opportunities to set up and to achieve the goals, and we exchange our best practices and take the best experience from our colleagues. And our strategy is to cooperate with our suppliers to develop new projects and how to proceed the garbage. And we have to think about everything very carefully. So our project consists of 4 phases. The first phase concerning the food intake, and the second is laboratory, the third is logistics, and the last is the production. So we are moving from the simple phase to the more complicated phase. Now we are at the first stage. So it started in 2019, and now we are looking at our sphere of office space and organization of food intake, and we try to optimize the ways how we can use the plastic. So we are talking about refusal from the dear colleagues. Unfortunately, we have some technical problems with the connection, and we would like not to waste the time, and let's go to the next speaker, next presentation. It will be done by the company Filter Mist, the producer of filters, and the speaker will be Richard Smith. Richard, the word flows to you.
Good morning, everyone. I can't see my slides. Okay, here we go. Okay, good morning. Good morning, delegates. I'm responsible for the Russian market as international distributor manager for Filter Mist, based here in the UK. So it's very good to hear Deborah Ronnett's words about the growing importance of clean air and environmental solutions in industry in Russia. We are part of the Absalon Group, and as such, we provide clean air solutions for industrial environments, for inside factories. If I asked you to take a deep breath, you think that was fairly normal? Well, from our body's point of view, we drink on average about 1.5 liters of water a day, and we breathe in about 11,000 liters of air. So it's quite a significant amount. If I asked you to drink 1.5 liters of dirty water, I don't think you'd be very impressed. So imagine about the air that you breathe, 11,000 liters of air every day. And as far as industrial environment is concerned, people are getting sick. Millions of pounds, euros, dollars are being wasted, and electronics are failing because of poor industrial air filtration with inside factories. I think the general population is highly aware of air quality outside of the factory, but not so much focus is on what the environment is like inside the factory. If I said to you that in Beijing schools have closed because in the air there is an AQI of over 500, which is, it's 0.5 milligrams per meter cubed. It's actually a very, very low amount. The air quality for factories guidance in most European countries is 5 milligrams per meter cubed, and that's only guidelines. So the industrial environment inside the factory can be quite foggy. In some countries like France and Sweden, it's down as low as 1 milligram per meter cube. But still, if you think schools are closing at a much lower amount outside, think about the environment that people are working inside and the impact that has on your workforce and also the environment inside the factory. Let me click on to the next slide. Yeah, so what are we talking about here? The contaminants, the pollutants? Well, they're dust, they're oil mist, they're oil smoke. Most of these are generated by the machine tools within the factory from different processes, from CNC machines, cutting, grinding, drilling, and depending on what coolant is being used. Oil smoke is perhaps the most significant in that the particles are smaller, and actually processes today are generating more and more oil smoke because of high pressure, new machines with higher pressure coolant and neat oil, which again generates these smaller particles. The particle sizes vary. As I say, they can be something like a dust particle down to the size of a virus, which obviously is topical. Okay, get an idea of what this really means. If you look at the bottle that I've got on this slide, you can see the different types of size. So dust, we're looking at about 10 microns. Oil mist, 2.5 microns. And oil smoke, as I say, the most significant, quite small at 0.5 microns. If you look at the size of this bottle here, that amounts to significant amount of particles. We look after filtration for industrial environments, and the way to capture and reduce the pollution inside the environment is to use an effective extraction or oil mist extraction or oil smoke filtration system. Why is the particle size so important? Well, if you look to the right of this slide, you can see how our bodies collect, if you like, the different particle sizes. So at certain sizes, the body normal filtration, the hairs in your nose, the mouth and your throat will remove these particles or collect these particles, if you like, if we go down to the bacteria size. But the smaller particles get into the respiratory system, into the lungs, and therefore into your blood system. Where does this pollution come from? Well, it's in the process. It's anti-corrosive agents, it's oils, it's detergents, lubricants, toxic ingredients, dust, metal particles. They all don't sound very good, do they? So this is what you're breathing inside these industrial environments. Maybe 20 years ago, you could clearly see the type of pollutant inside the factories. The walls would be black, dirty, the workers would be dirty. But they're of a certain particle size. It's actually the things you can't see these days. It's the smaller particles from these high pressure machining processes and neat oil that get into the body that are most damaging, and therefore can cause the diseases. My clicker has stopped working, which is not great. Okay. Yeah, so remember me talking about the amount of air we inhale a day? Well, you think about a third of your day is usually spent at work. So again, if you're based in a factory environment, then that's 3,700 litres of air from that factory environment, which may be quite dirty, as you can see from the previous slides. Give you an idea of what that looks like. If you look to the right of the slide, you can see from the different types of machines. So a high-speed grinder, this is where we're talking about smaller particles, neat oil. You could be drinking, in theory, over the period of a year, 25 milliliters of this contaminant. You really don't want that in your body. And as you can see, as you go down the scale, even at the common European threshold of 5 milligrams, you still find the factory environment would be very foggy. I think there's a slight delay on the slides there, sorry. You still see that the environment would be very foggy, and actually, you know, in France and Sweden at 1 milligram is still much higher than most of the air quality index warnings for the outside environment. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, so we're talking about health risks. You know, this is reported by organizations in each country, and in the UK we have very strong health and safety regulations, which is driving industry to improve. And obviously common diseases that arrive, respiratory diseases. The other big factor actually when it comes to this oil mist and oil smoke in the factory environment is the damage it can actually do to the machines themselves. You know, companies invest a lot of money in these machines tools. They can be 100,000 euros, 200,000 euros to do their production. And, you know, the oil mist gets into the control system, gets into the panels, gets into the air conditioning system, and can cause damage, loss, downtime, and obviously maintenance. So not just protecting the workers, but protecting the factory environment as well. Sorry, there's a slight delay on the clicker here. Okay, so why is this important? Well, from a point of view of your business, you know, if you have a filtration system, it may not be working very well, it may not be being looked after, and then you're not actually helping, because the quality of the air will still be inside the factory will still be poor, due to every time they open the door of the machine tool to take out the part, the oil mist will come out, or the oil smoke will come out. So not only is it affecting the health of the workers, it's also affecting how your factory looks. You know, and if you're going to win business, you want to impress your clients. So you wouldn't want to take your clients around that kind of environment. And also, you're wasting oil. You know, there's an example here on this slide where one of our customers within the Absolute group collects and reuses 47 litres of this very expensive coolant from a grinding machine every week. So you can see how that adds up to saving. Our systems also, you know, if you've got a system that's not working very well in your ventilation system, you just compounding the problem. If you filter the air with a system like ours, then you can also recover the energy and reuse it for heating, cooling the factory. And if you think about a lot of countries, you've got hot summers, cold winters. Hot summers, you know, you want to try and cool the factory environment, but if you close the doors and put aircon on, then you're going to trap all this smoke inside. And in the winter, you know, you've got to do the opposite. You want to keep the doors closed to keep the heat in, but again, don't have a good filtration system, you're trapping the air in as well. I mean, the solution in the past was to open the windows, but obviously then that's a significant cost as well. Yeah, and also just saving on maintenance, cleaning the factory. But you know, from a point of view of what we do, we're very happy to. I look after a number of countries in Eastern Europe, including Russia. And we're very happy to speak with clients on an individual basis, look at their current system, assess what their needs are, and do air quality tests so you can actually see what the air is like inside your factory. So just to re-emphasize the importance of this, it's only going one way, and we see this in countries across Europe where legislation is getting tighter. It's not just guidelines. And think about the air that you breathe inside the work environment compared to the air that you breathe outside. So I wish the rest of you a good marathon, and thank you for listening. And obviously, if you have any questions, I'm willing to take them.
Thank you, Richard, for your interesting presentation of your technologies. The questions about filtration and air cleaning are really important for Russian industry, for manufacturing here in Russia, because there are different requirements in terms of air cleanliness and emissions. In this respect, the requirements for concentration of substances are getting more and more strict. And my question to you is, what percentage of collection of harmful substances can your filters provide? The percentage?
Well, this is where,
100% or 99%?
The flagship products within our range, the Absolent range, if you look at a machine that's operating 24/7 over a year, you will get significant numbers of barrels of oil. You saw the numbers that I gave you that would normally be exiting the machine. So if I talk in maybe 3.5 barrels of oil that would normally come out of the machine, we can reduce that to about a teaspoon and a half.
Thank you very much. Now let's get back to Evgenia Franskevich. She was talking about AstraZeneca experience in terms of reducing the use of disposable plastics in their offices. Evgenia, the audience is yours.
Good afternoon once again. So there was a problem with the
Вот я говорила про то, что у нас программа разбита на 4 фазы, и мы идем от простого к сложному, да, то есть офис и организация питания сотрудников — это такие жизненно важные для предприятия моменты, без которых, навряд ли какое-то предприятие в принципе функционирует. И здесь две задачи на самом деле в компании. Первое — это количественное снижение потребления одноразового пластика в этом сегменте, а второе — это, такое, знаете, изменение майндсета сотрудников, да, то есть изменение отношения людей к вопросу по использованию одноразового пластика. Потому что, когда мы говорим про какие-то более сложные вещи, когда мы говорим про производственную упаковку, там, про какие-то материалы, которые мы используем, например, в лаборатории, то тут люди как бы сложнее идут на изменения, потому что им сложнее это принять и понять. Когда мы говорим про такие простые вещи, как пластиковые стаканчики, пластиковые бутылки, одноразовая посуда там, да, для приема пищи, это то, с чем мы сталкиваемся ежедневно в нашей жизни, и не только в офисе, да, не только на работе, но и там, не знаю, на пикниках, где-то дома, в каких-то общественных местах. И здесь это все на виду, и люди, когда начинают об этом думать, они начинают понимать: о боже, а сколько же действительно вокруг нас этого пластика, и сколько же мы в день его потребляем, выбрасываем, и действительно понимают, что здесь каждый человек может свою лепту внести, да, вот в это вот снижение потребления, и не быть безответственным потребителем. И вот когда вот такое уже отношение формируется у человека ответственное, то мы можем тогда переходить уже на более сложные фазы, на более сложные этапы и уже говорить о том, что мы будем смотреть, что у нас идет в лабораториях, что у нас идет там в взаимодействии с поставщиками, какие мы можем использовать, скажем так, альтернативы по упаковке нашей продукции, да, уже и так далее. Но вот сфокусироваться важно вначале на изменении отношения людей. И, соответственно, как я уже говорила, мы начали с того, что провели инвентаризацию вот этого офисно-столового пространства и посмотрели, где же у нас нас какой одноразовый пластик потребляется. Ну вот если брать все наши площадки AstraZeneca по миру, было идентифицировано более 6 миллионов единиц пластиковых вот этих, да, одноразового пластика, с которыми можно работать. Лидеры были это молоко, ну то есть у нас везде в офисах и производствах есть там кофе-зоны, да, где там чай, кофе и молоко в том числе. Вот и как ни странно, вот это вот молоко было, скажем так, поставщиком огромного количества вот этих пластиковых единиц. Дальше это чашки, стаканы, столовые приборы, ну следующее это мешки для мусора и так далее. Ну вот три фокуса, там 4, ну еще, да, вот 3 внизу, здесь у меня молоко, чашка, стакан, столовые приборы, еще вот пакеты для мусора, да, это 4-я область была как бы выделена как фокусные зоны. Соответственно, что мы делали с молоком? Большую часть кофе-зон молоко просто было использовано, я думаю, что все знают, вот эти вот как порционные, да, вот эти вот чашечки такие с молоком или со сливками, которые мы берем, одну-две выливаем в свой стакан и выбрасываем. Вот для того, чтобы у нас не было вот этих вот маленьких пластиковых штучек, значит, были несколько вариантов внедрены. Значит, это интегрирование молока в кофемашину, ну, я думаю, что многим это известно, да, использование более объемных емкостей, например, это пол-литровый, литровый пакет с молоком со сливками, которые могут использовать сотрудники, либо они прям в своем виде, либо они там какие-то предразлитые в какие-то, не знаю, стеклянные посуды. Вот. И вот несколько порций в одной упаковке. То есть это позволило нам более чем на 2 миллиона штук снизить количество вот этих единиц пластиковых одноразовых. Чашки, стаканы, тут тоже все легко и просто. Мы изменили подход, мы убрали все одноразовые пластиковые стаканчики из всех зон, да, мы заменили либо их на чашки обычные керамические, либо на бумажные стаканчики. Вот. Ну и столовые приборы то же самое. Либо это замена на многоразовые, на металлические, скажем так, либо это пластиковые, но многоразовые, reusable, из другого вида пластика, да, те, которые подлежат переработке. Если мы, это как бы в целом по AstraZeneca, если мы будем смотреть на нашу производственную площадку AstraZeneca на территории Российской Федерации, вот завод в Ворсино, да, то по 2019 году, подводя итоги, по количеству штук можете посмотреть на слайде, да, мы говорили о том, что мы уходим от пластиковых стаканов, мы уходим от мешалок для чая, кофе, вот эти пластиковые такие ложечки маленькие, и чашки для горячих напитков. Нам удалось более чем, не выкинуть, скажем так, более чем 87 килограмм пластика в прошлом году. И в этом году мы сюда добавляем пакеты для сбора отходов, мы сюда добавляем пластиковые стаканы, которые используются у нас в программе «Fruit.me». Мы заменяем пластиковые контейнеры для хранения пищи сотрудников, ну вот в холодильниках, да, в шкафах офисных, на такие бумажные контейнеры. И, соответственно, мы уходим от пластиковых бутылок. Вот у нас такие прекрасные стеклянные бутылочки сейчас в офисе, да, которыми мы все можем пользоваться, что очень удобно. И это позволит нам, по нашим расчетам, в текущем году еще не выкинуть 120 килограмм одноразового пластика. Но еще раз повторюсь, на вот этой первой фазе цифры для нас важны, но еще более для нас важно изменение мышления сотрудников. Да? То есть дальше будет больше в килограммах, но это уже будет легче, потому что на сегодняшнем вот текущем этапе мы просто меняем отношение людей к использованию одноразового пластика. Могу сказать, что действительно это работает. Люди уже там из производства, из лабораторий приходят со своими предложениями. Да? Кто-то там про пластиковые крышечки рассказывает, давайте собирать, будем передавать на переработку. Кто-то говорит о том, что у нас там куча там каких-то пипеток, которые мы можем поменять на стеклянные, например, и так далее. То есть это работает. И здесь вот в продолжение того, что да, вначале говорил посол Великобритании, о том, что у них в посольстве тоже работает программа по снижению пластика. Я думаю, что это такой основополагающий момент, когда мы должны поменять наши отношения вот к этому неосмысленному потреблению. Если какие-то вопросы есть, то готовы на них ответить. Спасибо за внимание.
Да. Евгения, большое спасибо. Вы действительно совершенно правы. Ключевая, наверное, основная проблема в вопросах такой вот потребительской экологии — это, по сути, изменение образа мышления и внедрение самых простых базовых привычек. Мы тоже у нас в офисе Янг уже несколько лет назад перешли на исключительно керамическую посуду, керамические кружки, и действительно никакого дискомфорта не испытываем. И действительно это простейший способ, который можно применить вообще во всех офисных пространствах. У меня есть один короткий вопрос к вам. Что вы думаете думаете по поводу планируемых изменений в концепцию расширенной ответственности производителей в части возможного переложения ответственности именно за упаковку с производителей товаров упаковки на производителей этой упаковки?
So that it should be responsibility of the producers of the
Да, извините, пожалуйста, я просто хочу напомнить нашим слушателям, что у них также есть возможность задать свои вопросы в чате. Пожалуйста, задавайте вопросы. Евгения,
переложить ответственность за упаковку на производителя, это... Ну, тут должна быть коллаборация с родителями продукции и производителей упаковки, потому что более экологичная упаковка будет стоить дороже, да, производителю конечной продукции, соответственно, чаще это все перекладывается на потребителей и так далее. То есть здесь нужно искать какие-то оптимальные пути решения, может быть, как возврат, да, там, части сырья для переработки. У нас, на самом деле, есть такой проект тоже по взаимодействию с нашими производителями упаковки, когда мы просим более экологичную упаковку производить, то есть ту, которая подлежит либо повторной переработке, либо более быстро разлагаемая, но здесь мы берем на себя, как производителя лекарственных средств, тоже определенные обязательства по возврату уже использованной упаковки. Да? То есть мы придумываем, каким образом мы можем стимулировать потребителя возвращать упаковку, не выбросить ее в мусорную корзину, да, а вернуть. И в ряде стран уже запущен такой как пилотный проект, когда мы работаем с госпитальным сегментом. То есть немножко проще работать, да, с юрлицами, чем с физическими лицами, конечно, потребителей. И вот здесь вот как раз-таки проект по возврату упаковки из-под продукции для ее повторной переработки. То есть такая цепочка. Упаковка произвелась, мы в нее упаковали товар, отправили его в госпиталь этот товар использовал, вернул нам упаковку, мы вернули ее производителю, производитель переработал и использовал вот это сырье для нашей же упаковки. Здесь есть определенные сложности вот на возврате от потребителя, но тоже есть решение, например, делать какие-то яркие цвета, да, для того, чтобы проще было отделять одно от другого, да, там те же самые инструкции в лекарственных средствах обычно белый лист, если мы сделаем какой-то там пурпурный либо розовый, то тогда врач, когда будет, ну, грубо говоря, вытаскивать лекарство, он поймет, что окей, какая-то другая инструкция, и вспомнит, что ему надо ее какую-то отдельную корзинку там выбросить, да, чтобы потом передать. То есть это все работает, но здесь, да, коллаборация и потребителя, и производителя упаковки, и производителя продукции, но, в принципе, это, наверное, единственный путь, который позволит количественно нам очень значительно продвинуться вот в снижении, в том числе пластика, да, использования, снижении использования одноразового пластика.
Спасибо. Да, информирование и потребителей, и взаимодействие – это, конечно, ключевое вот во всех этих процессах. Сейчас, спасибо, Евгения.
These are the key issues. Thank you very much to Evgenia. And now our next speaker, Joseph McCartney from Matthey Company.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the organisers of INNOPROM for an opportunity for Johnson Matthey to speak here today. It's a great shame we can't be there in person. So I'm saying hello from sunny Oxford in England, where, as you can see, I'm in my home office. It does give me the advantage I can drink my coffee from a ceramic mug. What I would like to do is build a little bit on what Richard has been talking about in terms of air quality. My focus will be outside of the factory environment, the general air quality, but where the problem, where the pollutants come from large combustion sources or equivalent sources such as industrial processes. So what I would like to do this morning in the next 8 or so minutes is talk a little bit about who Johnson Matthey is, for those of you who don't know, talk about how Johnson Matthey likes to work, and then bring the discussion around to issues around air quality and in particular emissions control, and even more specifically, the role that catalytic aftertreatment can play in improving air quality. And I will illustrate that very briefly with some case studies before making some closing remarks. And I've been asked to speak a little slower than I normally would, so perhaps I will take 9 minutes. So Johnson Matthey is a specialty chemicals company. We have been around for 200 years. We're a global company. We have operations and facilities in 30 countries around the world, including Russia. We're listed on the FTSE 100 index in London. And our main Russian plant is in Krasnoyarsk. We have 15,000 employees. Over 1,000 of those are scientists working on scientific development and customer-focused programs. And our interests include healthcare, that's pharmaceuticals, efficient processes, and clean energy and cleaner air. And the common bond that unites all of the Johnson Matthey effort is around a cleaner, healthier world today and tomorrow. So we all know that the world is changing at a rapid pace. Challenges are coming from many different directions, including the COVID-19 issue in the context of trying to improve air pollution and concerns over climate change. So companies are struggling to survive for 20 years, never mind 200 plus. And what Johnson Matthey, like a lot of successful companies, tries to do is to understand market and customer needs and then use its core capabilities to meet those needs or ideally exceed those needs. And the core capabilities that are critical to Johnson Matthey are centered around its technology capabilities and its business capabilities. And more specifically, it's our knowledge of how catalysis can be applied and optimized in the real world to make the world a cleaner, healthier place. So let me just... Excellent. An essential aspect of a cleaner, healthier world is the air that we breathe, as Richard illustrated earlier. There are many sources of pollution as we go outside. A lot of it comes from traffic and transport, but a very significant source of emissions is that from large point sources. So those are power plants, so they could be coal-fired waste incinerators or biomass-powered power plants, and industrial activities. And we also include running diesel engines and emissions from gas turbines, which also contribute significantly to emission problems in the air that we breathe. And the emissions or the pollutants that we are particularly interested here as Johnson Matthey, because we've got technologies to address them, include NOx, the oxides of nitrogen, unburnt fuel or volatile organic chemicals, carbon monoxide, and particulate matter. And as Richard was saying earlier, these are damaging to the environment and they're also detrimental to human health. And that is why in large parts of the world, these emissions are controlled, they're limited. And what regulators, either at a regional, national, or local level, historically what they've tried to do is to try and strike a balance between the cost to the operator, who has to address these emissions, to the cost to society. So how we deal with these pollutants as a society. And what emerges from this is ideas like best available technology to address these emissions. And one of the best available technologies is that of catalytic aftertreatment. For NOx, selective catalytic reduction can be used to reduce NOx. Volatile organic chemicals and carbon monoxide can be oxidized using oxidation catalysts. And particulate matter can be controlled via a range of filters. diesel particulate filters in particular for diesel engines. And these are very effective at removing pollutants from their point source before they enter the atmosphere. And typical effectiveness or conversion effectivenesses are in excess of 90%, sometimes up to 98%, depending on the requirement and the particular conditions. And what Johnson Matthey does in this sector, we speak to interested stakeholders early in the process to try and help understand what their specific needs are. We're also on hand to help with the installation of catalytic systems. And then during its lifetime, we are also there to support the customer with continued help understanding how to optimize the operation in terms of how the catalyst is managed, for example. So it's really our job to help our customer base to get the best out of their catalytic emission control systems. And just very quickly onto some case studies, evidence where Johnson Matthey has been quite successful in reducing some of these pollutants. There is a focus around NOx here. There's a power plant in the United Kingdom at Ratcliffe. It's burning coal and biomass, and when the SCR is engaged, 85% of the NOx can be abated, and that's at a very low ammonia slip emission. In the Netherlands, there's a waste-to-energy plant in Christenstand that we've reported 95% reduction of NOx, once again, at very low ammonia slip. And a variation on a theme, the last one here is engines on an island for power gen, which is burning heavy fuel oil, which is quite a heavy, dirty diesel, 2% sulfur. And even under those challenging conditions, we achieved 90% NOx reduction. So making the atmosphere and the air outside of those power plants much cleaner. Now, this technology can be applied to other things, such as international shipping. And indeed, SCR is used to meet IMO Tier 3 NOx emissions limits. And of course, in 2021, there's going to be areas around the Europe, the North Sea, and the English Channel, and the Baltic Sea, which will need to meet tighter limits for NOx for new build vessels. So these technologies can be applied to shipping as well. So I do want to come to my closing remarks now, because I realize that the time is short. This has been a very quick overview.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Because you are closing your presentation, you gave us very interesting examples of using your technologies, and you showed us these figures of reduction up to 90%, 85%, 90%. It's really impressive. Are there any examples of using your technologies here in Russia, or maybe you are holding some negotiations in terms of pilot projects? What about Russia?
So most of the case studies that we've talked about here are required by regulation. Now, Russia is getting up to speed with requiring emission control equipment to control air quality. So this is a market that is beginning to blossom. I think, going back to what the ambassador said earlier, Russia is getting on the front foot now and doing more to control its air quality problems. So we expect more business. I was just about to finish saying that the catalytic aftertreatment is a very effective, probably the most effective, and in many cases, the most effective and efficient way of removing pollutants from these industrial and power plant processes. It also has a role to play with mercury, controlling mercury emissions, and dioxin emissions in waste incinerators, for example. As we move towards gas, and gas is obviously a very important fuel in Russia, There is concern over methane emissions and other greenhouse gases. Catalytic aftertreatment can also play a role there. And if you want an example where Johnson Matthey has been successful in Russia and indeed globally, 1/3 of all the catalytic converters in cars, and that includes in Russia, has a Johnson Matthey catalyst in it. So we've been very successful where the regulations have required it. I think also, just building on your question, we know that governments are requiring more to be done, in particular on large point sources. And there is the balance between the cost to the operator versus the cost to society is constantly being revised. And I think, once again, if you look at some of the discussions that are happening in Russia and elsewhere, there is a concept that that's not the right balance. We should actually be investing in cleaner air, and that's the attitude we should be taking with this. And it goes back to what you mentioned earlier in the introduction about the penalties that you have to pay if you do not look after some of these problems today. You're building up a much bigger problem, later down the line. So paying a little today can save a lot tomorrow, and fitting catalytic aftertreatment can really improve air quality, help with greenhouse gas and emissions, especially from.
I totally agree with you, but I have to interrupt you because we have another speaker with very interesting presentation. Thank you so much for your very interesting topic, because this is very relevant topic, and currently in Russia there is regulation and use of post-treatment of catalysts, and companies should bear some expenses on buying those catalysts. And now I give the floor to the next speaker, Tatiana Garavaya.
And Tatiana is going to tell us about electromobiles, which Deborah said to us at the very beginning, and it was very interesting to know what infrastructure in Russia we do have, and when we all could use electromobiles. Tatiana, so word flows to you. Thank you very much, Natalia. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon to everyone, and we really would like to share our experience and what we are doing in Russia, but I'd like to start why Nissan would tell you in the just panel associated with the Great Britain. So, but really Nissan company, as you all know, is a Japanese company, but we have a big production in the Great Britain and Sunderland, and we have a big technical center which is involved in the technical developments in Cranfield. And we implement many projects with the support of the government of the Great Britain, and we work and collaborate closely with the different research centers of the Great Britain, so focused on ecology aspect. And I'd like to show you two projects like an examples. HLDB, higher energy battery project, which was implemented together with World Manufacturing Group with the support of the government of the Great Britain, and which included designing of the new system, the energy saving, and the development of new prototype. So this is the design of a new prototype of the battery with the new ecological energy. So, and it was supported by our partners in the Great Britain. So this project called Human Drive, which was done during the 2 years and was supported by the government of the Great Britain. This is the project on the design of the algorithm of driving. So closer to the human driving for the public transport years, but we had such a big drive from Cranfield to Sunderland, about 800 kilometers, where 99% was with automated driving. So with quite a difficult part of the road, but it finalized successfully. So, and these are the examples what the Great Britain is doing and how these projects are associated with the ecology. And now I'd like to go back to the presentation, and I'd like to tell about the global strategy of Nissan company, which is focused on the ecology aspects, Nissan Intelligent Mobility, which included three components, three innovative approaches: intelligent driving, so automated driving, pilot-free vehicles. Intelligent integration is the development of the infrastructure for electromobiles. And intelligent power, this is what I'm going to talk about today briefly. So it concerns energy effectiveness and minimizing the emissions and using the clean energy. And intelligent power, as I said before, is the maximal mobility with zero emission and fuel economy, fuel saving, which can be provided by using the electromobiles. So the Nissan company can allow to use electromobiles, but moreover, these electromobiles can be also used for energy saving. Particularly, the concept vehicle to grid suggests the usage of electromobiles with which you could not only get the energy from the electrical net, but also you can sell this energy just in the hours when you don't use your electromobiles. And this will allow you not only to get the money, but also can stabilize the general energy system, because the peak just hours, the peak loads will decrease, and at night time, the electromobiles could be charged or recharged when we use less energy. Nowadays in Japan, there are about 5,000 owners of the houses which could use electromobiles for optimizing their own energy supply. As a bright example which can be shown is in 2018 the Nissan company together with their partners launched the new project on electrification of the stadium Amsterdam Arena, and it was supplied with accumulator batteries from electromobiles. This allowed to use the energy in an optimal way. So from 148 solar batteries which were placed at the roof of the stadium. So the stadium was supplied with the energy, and this energy could accumulate in the batteries which were placed, and this energy could be used later on to supply the system. The system storage, Nissan Leaf storage, can be used not only for that stadium, but also I'd like to tell you about two more projects. Schiphol, the airport in Amsterdam. So the diesel generators were changed with generators Nissan Leaf, we providing the energy. And in the Netherlands, another project where in the residential houses, in one of the three houses, the energy effective system also included the accumulation of the solar energy and the usage of solar energy for their own needs, and the returning back this energy to the energy system. So, and in the Great Britain, we also implemented the project which suggests the placement of solar panels on the roof of the house and the opportunity to accumulate the solar energy and the use of this energy for different needs. If we talk about Russia, what does Nissan do in Russia in the industrial sphere? I'd like to mention that we have a Nissan plant in St. Petersburg where we produce vehicles, Nissan, and we implement the concept green program, Nissan green program, which includes the increase in energy effectiveness and ecological safety, starting from the delivery of the components to the production of vehicles and the sales. So we have there are several aspects which should be emphasized. If we talk about energy effectiveness, then in the production process we changed all internal and external energy consuming equipment with more energy effective equipment. We used or implemented automatization. And if we talk about water, so we implemented the project tertiary treatment of storm water. It was called as the best project, as the best ecological project in St. Petersburg and Leningrad region. And I would also like to mention the project. In 2017 we had a project on growing the salmon, and this also shows how careful we just treat the nature. We'd like to live in the good ecological cities with pure air, pure water. And what concerning the air, my colleagues gave us some examples, but we also focus our efforts on air cleaning, and we try to use some filters to clean the water. And so the degree of the air purification is up to 99%, so this is quite clean technologies. And as it was said before, there is a huge problem is waste. And we also work with that problem, and we implement such a program as Zero Waste, which suggests waste-free production. We cannot say that our production is 100 free waste, but there are three components. The first one is reduce. We try to implement new technologies which enables us to decrease the volume of resources and to decrease the volume of waste. The second aspect is reuse, the repeated use of the wastes if it is possible. And the third one is recycle, is just recycling the wastes. And we have quite good results which evidenced of our work. So we sought out the rubbish, and we could boast of our quite good results in doing that. And also transporting or transportation, as I said before. So we think a lot about ecology and ecological effectiveness. So from the very beginning, starting with the delivery of some components and up to the production of the product of the vehicles. And we work together with logical company, container ships, and all the components which are delivered from the Great Britain to the St. Petersburg plant are done by the Ecology clean ships, and this allowed us to decrease by 50% the carbon dioxide emissions. Besides carbon dioxide emissions, the other harmful pollutants are decreased. And if we talk about the production process, the process of painting is quite, or coloring is quite harmful, and we think a lot about ecological aspects, and we use the paints and technologies which allowed us to decrease the volume of water in the production process and make the process more ecological. As well, automated delivery of the components within the production departments. We use the robots, which are called AGV, and they are pilot-free transporters which could deliver the transportation of the components between the production departments. So this is what I'd like to tell you to be short. Tatiana, thank you very much for such an interesting presentation which showed us what Nissan has been doing in Russia. You showed different aspects of your work on ecology process, and unfortunately we cannot answer all the questions which are sent to us in chat, but you could ask the speakers your questions. You will get their contacts. And summarizing, I'd like to say that today we have known how in the implemented projects, so the unique project by Nissan company, how to save the energy, but, which seemed to be impossible. We talked about AstraZeneca project, about cleaning the offices and decreasing the wastes and disposable plastic. And we knew about some practical certain technologies which could be implemented in our Russian plants and in many industrial spheres. Company Johnson Filter Mist so focused their efforts on the decreasing of the concentration of harmful substances emitted into the air, and implementing all these technologies is an expensive thing at the first stage, but later on it will decrease some other expenses. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry for some technical problems. I hope that all what was said was very interesting for you, and the speakers are ready to answer your questions. Thank you, and they're waiting for your questions. Thank you.